George Rickey was an American artist best known for his large-scale, geometric kinetic sculptures made of stainless steel. Many of his artworks reflected the changing surroundings and were naturally powered by air currents. Naumkeag in Stockbridge is hosting one of the largest retrospectives of Rickey's work in the Northeast through the fall, and producer Dave Fraser brings us the story.
Kinetic sculpture is three-dimensional art that moves. The movement can be generated by machines, people, or in the case of artist George Rickey, nature.
Rickey saw that nature was as much an important piece of his work as the creation of the sculpture that he was doing. So he created the piece, and then nature comes in and does the rest.
There are 12 of Rickey's large sculptures on display throughout the grounds at Naumkeag, a quintessential country estate and National Historic Property located in Stockbridge. Inside are 8 more sculptures and 3 works of art, including Rickey's interior tabletop works, hanging pieces, artwork, and archival documents.
The George Rickey Foundation, who we've worked closely with, and the George Rickey Estate, which are located just less than 20 miles from here in Chatham, New York, we've worked together. There was a recent show in New York City on Park Avenue, great expression of his work, and our show is following on that, and I know there's some more shows going on around the world. So there is a much deeper interest in his work. It's coming around again.
Rickey was said to be among the most inventive and influential sculptors of the 20th century. His kinetic works are the outgrowth of his experiments with wire and metal that began during his service in World War II. By the late 1950s and 60s, he had defined his sculptural forms as simple geometric shapes, such as rectangles, trapezoids, cubes, and lines.
These are stainless steel boxes, some set at angles, so as they turn, they're not knocking into each other, they're moving past each other. And inside of each box or element are counterweights of lead, and they're placed precisely so that they influence the movement as wind comes along, and the surface of the piece acts as a sail, much like on a boat, and it captures the wind and sets the piece into motion.
The pieces are somewhat separated across the 44-acre property, allowing visitors to see them and interact with the environment. Each of the large-scale sculptures has been placed in a way that complements the landscape, the shapes of the sculptures mimicking the shapes of the view or the building nearby.
The gardens at Naumkeag, designed by Fletcher Steele from the 1920s to the 1950s, are an incredible artistic expression of landscape design. And they are a perfect setting for these incredible sculptures by George Rickey. We're also on a hillside, and there's always a nice gentle breeze here, sometimes stronger, which helps to set the works in motion. We're looking at Untitled Circle from 2002. It's the last work by George Rickey, and it is an 8-foot open circle on a pivoting arm that gently rocks in the wind and frames the view, and that view through that round opening is always changing as the piece rocks back and forth. This is Unfolding Square from 1994. It's a jointed line piece. So instead of one straight line, it's 4 lines broken up, jointed. It has infinite movements. The surface, like many of his works, are sort of randomly polished stainless steel. So as it moves, it captures different angles of the sun, reflecting that back. It can fold down into a square, open up into a straight line. It's just, for Rickey, one of the best expressions of this movement that he pioneered in his sculpture.
Viewscapes will be on display at Naumkeag through November 1st.